The latest updates from Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter as he pleads guilty to federal charges. More on that to come. Adam Silver sounds off on a wide variety of NBA topics as the NBA regular season comes to a close. The Arizona Coyotes look to be on their way out of town once more as they could be heading to Salt Lake City for the 2024-25 NHL season. Another coaching legend calls it quits after 45 years of service to college basketball. And the Indiana Fever reach a fever pitch as all but 4 of their games will be on national television in wake of them potentially drafting college sensation Callan McClurg. We might be under the weather, but Press Row is back for our first program in April, going live right here and right now. This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. We're back. We may not be at full power, folks, because of spring fever and allergy season, but hey, it is what it is, and we're back here, folks. Joining you once more on Press Row, coming at you live from sunny San Diego, California. Yours truly, Callan McClurg, back with you here from the home studios here in San Diego. Hoping your day is off to a great start on this Thursday afternoon, April 11, 2024. Again, folks, my apologies for the voice and the nasally congestion sounding today, but again, I have been absolutely smashed and crushed by allergy season over the past 11 days here. Locally, changing weather, rain has been coming. It goes to 85 degrees. The next day, it goes to 75, and then, more rain comes in. So that's why we're a little bit raspy, a little bit rusty and stuff like that. But regardless, we're going to get through our program, or at least try to get as deep as we can here on Press Row this afternoon. But as always, folks, Press Row is live here on C2C. Again, covering all the big stories from the wide world of sports. But again, viewed from the angle, though, of the sports media and sports business perspective. We, again, folks, invite your input once more here. As always, live on the on Facebook or on YouTube, or, of course, if you're viewing us live via the Callan McClurg Sports Twitch channel. Again, fire away with your questions, your comments, or your concerns. Again, we'll do our absolute best to make sure that your commentary is read live on the air. But as always, folks, a reminder once more, we're only a couple weeks away, but again, on May 4th, we'll have live coverage of the 2024 Backyard Brew Games Cornhole Tournament at 12 noon Pacific time from Eugene, Oregon. So again, be sure to join the cast and crew as we watch and commentate and enjoy some live cornhole for a good cause, though, as well, coming up on May 4th. But again, folks, we'll do our absolute best to, again, make sure that your commentary is read live on the air here this afternoon. With that, folks, in mind, we'll get to all of our topics. Again, into the big board we go on this April 11th, folks. We'll start with what we do know now. There has been some new developments in this ongoing deliberation involving Shohei Ohtani's longtime former interpreter, Epi Mizuhara, is now reportedly set to plead guilty to new charges relating to the gambling scandal that rocked the baseball world just roughly 3 to 4 weeks ago. Mizuhara right now is in intense negotiations, per reports, on a guilty plea with federal prosecutors over allegations that he stole millions of dollars from Ohtani to cover his gambling debts. The charges that he is pleading to and the authorities' charges against him are currently unknown, but we do know this much: at the IRS, Department of Homeland Security, and U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California were investigating the matter at hand. Initially, Ohtani's team supported the claim that Mizuhara had made that Ohtani knowingly covered his gambling debts, but they later changed their story, alleging that Mizuhara lied and stole from Ohtani without his knowledge. As always, Ohtani denies any knowledge of Mizuhara's betting, and of course, sports wagering in California, as we know, is not legal in the state where Mizuhara made his wagers, again, legally or illegally. The federal case supports Ohtani's version of events, suggesting that Mizuhara stole perhaps more money from Ohtani and tampered with his bank account settings to hide the transactions. Ohtani still insists he never wagered on sports or sent money to the illegal bookmaker either in Orange County, California. Wowzer. Wowzer, wowzer, wowzer. I think I'm more surprised, Not surprised, but maybe more surprised a little bit. Because I feel like, though, that the second to last bullet point, folks, is what kind of, I think, was in my head the whole time about this situation. That somehow, some way, though, that Epi Mizuhara had Ohtani's bank account information and deactivated all of his settings about, hey, this transaction's been made, this transaction's been made, this transaction is being held. So Ohtani, in this version of the story, had no recollection or knowledge that this was actually happening. So, for the third time now in Epi Mizuhara's career, he has now been dubbed a liar. James and I talked about this back on March 28th, I believe, that we had discussed about the fact that Mizuhara had lied about his time, lied about him going to UC Riverside and lied working for the Boston Red Sox. And now here, lying under his teeth for the third time in his career. And in that case, I say good riddance. However, though, I do think that Rich Eisen, though, on his program, I believe this morning, still, though, I think he feels personally that there's still something out there. I think with the investigation still going on, and that this verdict has kind of been reached right now, that from what it sounds like, Mizuhara is cooperating with the authorities. He is negotiating a guilty plea for stealing the money from Shohei Ohtani. But again, I still think, though, that there's a great deal of questions surrounding this. It's like Russell Dorsey said back in late March, that there's confusion and there is a lot of confusion about this whole story. But now that I think, though, that it's been laid out, folks, by the higher-ups with the law, again, the IRS has been involved, the Department of Homeland Security has been involved, and the district attorney, the Central District Attorney for California has also been involved. But that last bullet point, though, that the federal case supports Ohtani's version of the events, suggesting that Mizuhara stole more money from Ohtani, but again, though, tampered with his bank account. What are we always told, folks, when we board a commercial airliner to go and fly about the country? Federal law prohibits tampering with, disabling, or destroying a laboratory smoke detector. Kind of case in point right here, Mizuhara tampering with another human being and their bank account. Again, whether it's a friend, family member, or whatnot, that's a pretty big no-no. So I would probably think that there is federal charges that will be dropped here on IP Mizuhara. And I think that he can right now kiss away his baseball career for the future as well. However, though, at the same time, though, folks, I still do wonder if there is something else out there. Now, I'm going to give a shout out real quick to Sean Egan, I believe, who wrote in on the reel that we shared on Instagram of where I said I was very sick to my stomach about this whole ordeal. And Sean, to his credit, disagreed, saying that I was a bit delusional about, Otani's going to have to probably be released or put on the commissioner's list. And I told Sean, look, as a Padre fan, like I said here on the program, as a Padre fan, I hope more comes out of this. But as a fan of baseball, where again we view that topic from, this does, I think, made a lot of us baseball fans kind of upset and sick to our stomach. That it happens to a guy who really, again, very sheltered, very private, just wants to go and play the game and have fun. Yeah, maybe make his money, but he wants to just play the game and have fun and live out that major league dream. But I did think, though, that Sean was right, though, that maybe my thoughts may have been a little bit delusional or I was a little bit overzealous with those thoughts. But now here we are, though, folks, with this. I do kind of feel like, though, that anything involving Shohei Ohtani with this situation can now be put to rest. Unless another major bombshell is dropped by Mizuhara. That's where I think I'm still not quite fully on board of giving Ohtani the clean bill of health and passing him through. Because what happens, though, if there is something else going on during a potential questioning or interrogation session that the IRS may do or the Homeland Security Department might do, does eventually, because of how Shohei threw Epi under the bus back during the latter part of March when the whole situation broke out. Now what happens, though, if IP has some sort of dirt on Shohei and it becomes he said, she said, they said, we said, you said, we all say? That's where I think I really can't personally right now totally eradicate Ohtani from being, at this rate. But I do think, though, that the claims in the case right now, the evidence is there against IP Mizuhara. The fact, again, tampering with someone else's bank account should be a severe punishment of some type. Now, again, we don't know the full scope right now still, folks. We're going to wait again for the LA Times or ESPN.com or Front Office Sports to further elaborate. But again, this came down last night about the latest with Mizuhara. But again, as we know right now, folks, IP Mizuhara, again, is right now negotiating a guilty plea with federal prosecutors over allegations that he stole millions of dollars from Ohtani to cover gambling wagers. Charges against him right now is pleading to, and the authorities, charges against him are unknown, but once more, again, the IRS, Department of Homeland Security, and the attorney for the Central District of California were all involved in the matter at hand. As we again, folks, said, though, but Ohtani's team supported initially supported the claims that were made by Mizuhara, claiming that Ohtani knowingly covered his gambling debts, but they later changed their story, alleging that Mizuhara lied and stole from Ohtani without his actual knowledge. Again, we can confirm again that Ohtani has denied any knowledge of Mizuhara's wagering, and once more, but again, sports wagering in California is illegal out here where those wagers were made. But once more, again, the big talking point again, the federal case supports Ohtani's version of the story, suggesting that Mizuhara stole the money from him. And again, Mizuhara went in and tampered with his bank settings to hide those transactions. Ohtani still insists he never wagered on sports or sent the money to the bookmaker. And again, James and I, folks, did talk about that at length, though, pretty recently. The last bullet point, though, is what we also were concerned about, when I was concerned about. Just the simple fact, though, that Ohtani's name is on those checks that were wired to the bookmaker in Orange County. That's where I think I'm still not quite fully ready to give Ohtani that clean bill of health. Because if something else comes out of what I had just said, though, about IP possibly saying, well, hey, I know that this happened, but I got some dirt here. I got some tea if you want some about what Shohei did, though. That's why I'm not fully ready to support Ohtani is squeaky clean and is totally off the hook right now at this rate. James Gonzalez chimes in, says, hey, Cal, hope you're doing better. I'd say, James, I'm like 90% right now still. Just got that congestion, got that deep cough right now, all that allergy stuff. And he says, Ohtani getting off, it seems, and is possibly wrong. Again, James, we talked about this. You and I both agree. The last bullet point here is what scares me and probably scares you. Just the fact, again, once more, that Ohtani's name was on that sign line for those wire transfers, that's still not where I think we can fully say, yep, Ohtani is fine. Hey, he's okay. I'm not quite ready to cross that finish line just yet, because I still think that IP Mizuhara might be hiding something. I don't know if that's fair game that he's hiding something against Shohei. But with how, though, and James, we talked about this, with how quick, though, that Shohei, as you said, threw IP under the bus, it almost feels like IP's just like kind of going like this, like, yes, all part of the master plan. Because now I can drop this massive, tea spillage about Shohei and ruin his career like how he's ruined mine. Again, I don't know if that's fair game, if that's delusional or whatever it might be. But certainly, I'm not quite ready to go that way just yet. But again, long way to go with this whole process. With that, folks, in mind, on to our next topic here. Adam Silver confirms to sources that the NBA and himself will not be interfering with the ongoing ownership struggle involving our good man Brandon Herrera and his Minnesota Timberwolves. Current majority owner Glenn Taylor withdrew the team from the market, is right now embroiled in a massive dispute with minority partners, former disgraced baseball player Alex Rodriguez and longtime investor of the NBA, Mark Lohr. League Commissioner Adam Silver said on Wednesday that the league has no role in the matter whatsoever. The original series sales agreement states that mediation is now the next step in resolving this ongoing conflict. ESPN further reports that Taylor was concerned about a document showing that A-Rod and Mark Lohr's group plan to reduce spending on the team's roster and potentially also incurring significant tax penalties. Silver also suggested that the situation may prompt the NBA to reconsider the deal and how deals are structured. Silver also touched base, though, with ESPN sources and FOS sources on other topics involving or including an ongoing investigation into Raptors player Jonte Porter, which could in fact be the cardinal sin and could lead to a NBA lifetime ban for Porter for gambling, and again, the potential NBA league expansion. Silver also confirmed to sources that negotiations are still ongoing with Disney and Warner Brothers for media rights and expressed support for keeping the WNBA and NBA media rights together. Ownership is going to be a thing, folks, we're going to be talking about pretty heavily in our next topic. We're also going to be grilling one of our co-hosts on Kicking It for their very delusional thoughts in our next topic. But, though, I see, where Glenn Taylor's coming from. Bullet point 5 is the one that really worries me. Let's not forget, folks, that the Timberwolves right now are a game back of the number 1 overall seed in the Western Conference, right behind the defending champion Denver Nuggets. And, James and I kind of sparred a little bit about this topic on C2C at night a while back, that I was more intrigued by the number 1 seed race than the play-in tournament, because we all want, I think, to see new faces and new blood getting into the playoffs in sports. We get tired of the Lakers and the Celtics and the Bucks and all these other, blue blood franchises. Like, we want to see like a scrappy young Minnesota team get in or an OKC team get in with no real bona fide superstar duos or tandems on their roster. But I do, though, see why Glenn Taylor is concerned. And what has me concerned is a similar boat where the Padres were at one point in time, before Peter Seidler came in as the White Knight and saved the team and spent on that Padre roster. But I see, though, that Glenn Taylor is concerned, though, about this ordeal, mainly because they got a great thing going. Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, a lot of these, guys who are, they're big name guys, but again, they don't get that respect, though. No, you play in Minnesota. You're not in Los Angeles. Who cares? You're not in Boston. Who cares? But, though, you don't want someone new to come in and ruin something that's great right now. Because for the simple fact, though, this reminds me so much of the 1990s era Padres. After Joan Kroc sold the team to Tom Warner, that ownership group, other than Roseanne Barr's PR stunt singing the national anthem at Jack Murphy Stadium, that ownership group was responsible for the worst fire sale in Padre history, which saw the Padres get rid of Gary Sheffield and now Hall of Famer Fred McGriff in the same season because of spending on the roster. That's what Glenn Taylor does not want to have happen. And also from the NBA perspective, though, and again, I know that Adam Silver said that they're not going to intervene right now. It's going to go to mediation or arbitration or to, the court of law. But if you are the NBA, though, I think you would be concerned. Not for the fact, James, sadly, and I agree, though, that I want the Wolves. Now, quick sidebar, this also includes the WNBA's Minnesota Lynx, who are the only winning franchise recently with championships in Minnesota. They've won 4. And that both teams deserve to stay in the Twin Cities. But, James, I do, though, will counter your point, though, about the Wolves staying put. I know about Seattle or Vegas. James, I can tell you real quick, bud, that the NBA has been very, very adamant. Vegas or Seattle will not be getting a team who relocates. Those are going to be 2 new, brand spanking new franchises. So I think that we can probably, breathe in, breathe out a little bit about the Wolves not leaving town. But I do see, though, why Glenn Taylor would be very concerned. Because now if A-Rod and Mark Lore come in here, I can definitely see a fire sale. Goodbye, Gobert. Goodbye, Karl Anthony Towns. Hey, we're a small market franchise. We can't operate like this. We don't care about being being 1 game back of first place in the Western Conference. We haven't won a playoff series in who knows how long. Sorry, folks, but you have to watch, G Leaguers and, draft picks play for the next 7 years. I don't want that to happen. Because I don't want a new ownership group to come in and wreck something that's great right now for the NBA. And that is a fresh-faced new team at the top of the conference standings right now heading into the postseason. But will Adam Silver get involved? Doesn't sound like it. Could the NBA go to arbitration or mediation? I don't know if that's going to work either, sadly, with where things are at this stage. But I think James is right here. Glenn Taylor usually looks like the bad guy. But right now, Glenn Taylor looks like the good guy in this case. I think, James, you're right. I absolutely agree 100%. Because I think, James, it goes to bullet point 2. He pulls the team off the market because of this dispute now between him and A-Rod and Mark Lore. And I think, James, that Glenn Taylor's like, I don't want to put up with this nonsense. I'll sue these guys and force them off of the ownership group of this team. But again, James, and viewers out there, I mainly, though, though I agree, though, that Glenn Taylor looks like he's the white knight here in this story, when he's usually the bad guy here, or the court gesture. But again, I get more concerned, though, when I read, though, about a ownership group who wants to come in and right away slash the payroll and pretty much drain the roster of good talent. Because it brings me back to the 1990 era Padres. For a team, though, who had Fred McGriff and Gary Sheffield and Tony Gwynn as their 3 main stars, Two of those three got traded for nobodies. At the time, Trevor Hoffman was a nobody when they dealt Sheffield to the Marlins. Away, though, folks, from what Adam Silver was talking about the Wolves. The investigation right now into Jonte Porter and the gambling irregularities sparked, I think, the first public outcry, I think, from a sports league internally about wagering being legal. JB Bickerstaff felt threatened by Cavalier fans about line bets and prop bets and wagering. Other players have shared stories that they have been getting, scathing messages on the web from fans about them blowing their fantasy season or blowing their parlays. Isn't it funny, though, how things now become like layered? Like you add layers to a photo that you're doing in Photoshop. You keep adding layers to add new effects. The layers of gambling, folks, in sports right now have reached a very alarming rate. Ohtani is one thing. But now, though, here with a player now being involved right now with gambling irregularities on prop bets, Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, said during March Madness, will these sports books please take these prop bets and line bets for our basketball tournament off of the books? It will take another player, sadly, like Mr. Porter, who gets banned for life from their sport because of gambling. The NHL popped a player for the Ottawa Senators half the year, 41 games for wagering this season. The NFL has suspended Calvin Ridley for a full year for his wagering. So I think it will take one of the major sports leagues to drop a lifetime ban again on somebody for wagering for something to finally, I think, come out of this with sports betting and wagering. NBA expansion, Seattle and Vegas. I don't see any other clear-cut favorites. Seattle has the renovated arena. They've long had a fan base who, even though the Sonics have been gone since 2008, they have supported the Seattle Storm of the WNBA so damn well. The Storm have won multiple championships in the past few years. They just got Skylar Diggins-Smith and Nneka Ogwumike in free agency to restock their star power in Seattle. Vegas is inevitable as well. T-Mobile Arena can easily, I think, work out with the Golden Knights. Could make for a pretty cool rivalry between Vegas and the Lakers, maybe, or Vegas and Phoenix, maybe. But I know that James is worried about media rights. I do believe that ESPN will still maintain those rights going forward, with the NBA and the WNBA being a package deal. But certainly I do think, though, that I'm more concerned about the Wolves situation, mainly for what we had talked about here, folks, regarding, again, that potential chance that A-Rod and Mark Lore buy out Glenn Taylor. Because we've already seen it, folks, so many times, though, in sports with fire sales, when a new ownership group comes in, usually they're not as aggressive because they want to kind of, in a way, write a new chapter in franchise history. And I think about that so much, though, about how the Padres did that with the Tom Warner group back in the 90s. The Padres had Gary Sheffield and Fred McGriff on the same roster with Tony Gwynn. And Gary and the Crime Dog both got traded for nobodies. And this fan base revolted against the Padres between 1990 and 1994. Or maybe 93. Because they had three superstar players right there. Now, of course, Tony stayed his whole career with San Diego. But again, McGriff, though, and Sheffield being traded, the Padre fan base was in massive revolt against that ownership group. Trevor Hoffman's wife once told a story that she couldn't say who her husband was because the Padre fan base, believe it or not, was that malicious towards Trevor Hoffman when he first came here from Florida. James does write back. He says, Cal, sadly, man, the league does not need to expand. Two teams need to move to Seattle and Vegas. The Pelicans should move out because New Orleans does not care about them, in my opinion. You also, James, kind of wonder, though, if Gail Benson is kind of at her wit's end, maybe with the Pelicans in general again. Her and Tom owning the Saints for a long time and owning the Pelicans for a long time. Almost in a way, James, it kind of feels like New Orleans and San Diego are very intertwined, though, with basketball. Market Field once already with the Jazz in New Orleans who went to Utah. Of course, locally here, we field with the Rockets and the Clippers. And James also writes in that having the Hornets back in the league has been an utter disaster. So, James, in that aspect, who gets blamed? Is it Michael Jordan? Is it the commissioner's office for going back to Charlotte? I do feel, though, James, that the NBA needs to expand to keep up right now with the changing times in professional sports. MLS is going to 30 teams in 2025. Soccer is becoming more popular in this country, finally. The proper version of football. Come at me if you want to. The NHL expanding to 32 teams in Seattle and Vegas. Major League Baseball, who really knows? But I think, though, that every league now is trying to keep up with the other leagues. That's why I'm for expanding the NBA. I'm totally for Seattle and Vegas. I don't know where else you could go. I think you would probably just have to keep those teams, James, that they might scuffle. You might just have to keep them right now at this rate. I do recall, I think, even maybe that even Memphis may have been a bit of a concern, though, too, because they're in a very small market. But that team, though, has been, they've had some great years recently. They have some great talent, too, on their team. But I think, though, James, just for the fact, though, of what we have seen, the NHL's expanded twice in 5 years. MLS has been expanding slowly for the past decade, if not longer. Baseball's baseball. Football might add that division in Europe, for God's sakes. I just think every league's trying to keep up with each other in friendly competition. But I do think, though, James, that one would wonder, though, about that, because I do think, James, at least last I knew of, Adam Silver was very adamant. We're not going to relocate any teams to Seattle or Vegas. There's going to be 2 brand new franchises. But again, we'll see. James also writes that the original owner of the Hornets should be blamed for moving the team to New Orleans in the first place. I agree. I agree 100%. And I think, James, that not the Hornets, the Bobcats were the biggest disaster in NBA history. Maybe away from Clay Bennett moving the Sonics to Oklahoma City, but the Charlotte Bobcats were the epitome of utter disaster for the NBA. If I'm right or if I'm wrong, let me know. But I do think, though, James, that expansion, I think, is inevitable. I mean, I know that the Pelicans may not be the best team out there, or the Hornets may not be either. I just feel like, though, that the NBA will expand to keep up with the changing times of professional sports. Professional sports. And Christy Wilson agrees. The Bobcats were a joke. They still own the worst record, I think, by win percentage in a NBA season of all time. I think like 2010, 2011, I think they won like 9 games or 5 games all year. But again, folks, we'll see what happens here. Again, a lot going on in the NBA as we wind down the regular season. Again, the NBA will not be intervening in the ownership dispute right now between the Wolves' majority owner, Glenn Taylor, and potential minority partners, Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lore, with the Commissioner Adam Silver saying that the league has no role in the matter whatsoever at this stage. And again, he also touched base, though, on, again, potentially Jonte Porter of the Raptors maybe getting the cardinal sin ban for life for wagering on NBA games that he was playing in. And, of course, future NBA expansion, and also about the media right deals for the league as well. With that, folks, major news in professional hockey. As of Wednesday, the NHL has come out with a plan right now to consider relocating the dysfunctional Arizona Coyotes to Salt Lake City, Utah, as soon as next season, due to concerns about the team's arena plans in the Phoenix metro area, per sources who are tapped in to the NHL. The league right now has prepared a backup option that would sell the club to Ryan and Ashley Smith, who are the owners of the NBA's Utah Jazz. It's gotten folks so bad over the last day or two that the league now has come up now with two schedule formats for the 24-25 season. Of course, Plan A, Coyotes are in Arizona, and Plan B, the Coyotes are now in Utah, in Salt Lake City. The announcement of the relocation, though, could come as soon as this month, as maybe even as soon as next Thursday, per some reports. But the situation is still very fluid and still needs approval from the NHL's Board of Governors. If, folks, this does occur, though, where the Coyotes do pack up and go to Salt Lake City, this would involve two separate financial transactions. First, the league would purchase the Coyotes from owner Alex Marullo for roughly $1 billion. Then the league would sell the Coyotes to Ryan and Ashley Smith for $1.3 billion, and the 31 other owners in the league split $300 million from the sale. The Utah team would play their home games at the now newly renamed Delta Center in downtown SLC, which is owned by the Smith family and is home to the NBA's Utah Jazz. However, though, the center would require some hockey-specific renovations to become a permanent NHL home. The last time that a team relocated in the NHL was in 2011, when the Atlanta Thrashers were moved to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, to become the new Winnipeg Jets. It, folks, has also gotten to a flashpoint just about 3 days ago, on Monday. Jazz owner Ryan Smith put out on Twitter a fan survey asking fans what they should call the new team if they come to Utah, whether it's the Coyotes or even a expansion franchise. I have to put, though, our dear friend and co-host Isaiah Lee Young through the shredder, though. This morning, he said that the Arizona Coyotes, he backed up his baseless claim from earlier on in our time on Coast to Coast that the Coyotes were an iconic NHL franchise. Iconic franchises don't play in 5,000-seat college arenas, sadly. The Arizona Coyotes have made 9 playoff trips in franchise history and have won 1 division championship and have never reached the Stanley Cup final. They were the original Winnipeg Jets who played in the WHA back in the 70s, then were bought to come to the NHL. Those original Jets won 3 division titles and never got out of round 1. This, sadly, has been a franchise marred by financial troubles, arena problems, a lack of fan support, and nothing to really hang your hat on, sadly. I did visit Glendale when the Coyotes were still playing at the then Gila River Arena, now Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, for a preseason game when the Yotes played L.A. I make it a point of emphasis, folks, if I go to a new NHL arena, I buy a game puck from there. And I did, because it had my favorite logo, which is the Kachina look that has their current logo on it, not the Howling Coyote head. For a preseason game, folks, it was probably 90-10 LA fans. Now, again, it was a preseason game. It wasn't very full. But that was the first, the first time I knew that it was bad for this franchise. Sadly, folks, this has been a franchise who has been doomed since day one when they came to Phoenix in 96. They were already put into a pickle and into a bind when they moved to the Valley of the Sun from Winnipeg. Let's, folks, remember this franchise played at Footprint Center, better known back in the day as America West Arena. The Suns built that arena for basketball and concerts. It was never built, folks, to hold a hockey rink on the arena floor. There are, folks, plenty of images. The scoreboard was off center from center ice. They had to basically cut out seats in the lower bowl to fit the rink onto the floor. The high roller Casino Arizona terrace level hung over onto the rink of play. They had those local high school venue bleacher seats down low on the floor to add more seating. They had seats that were sold with obstructed view seating. They had to pour in money to build new video boards to let people have a better vantage point if they couldn't see the game because that arena was not built to accommodate hockey. Then they moved to Glendale by 2003 and opened up then Jobbing.com Arena. And sadly, it was too far away for the fan base. A high majority of the Arizona fan base, from what I've gathered and have been told by friends who are in the area, they're more in the eastern part of the Phoenix area. Tempe, Scottsdale, Mesa, maybe even, way out east. Not in downtown and not in Glendale. This franchise was set up to fail from day one. And again, like I said, it does not help that you only go to the playoffs 9 times in club history. You have one trophy in the trophy case, and you've never reached the cup final. Again, a iconic NHL franchise doesn't play in a 5,000-seat arena. They at least go to the cup final. They at least have a conference championship and more than one division championship. Imagine the Montreal Canadiens, 24-time Cup champions, playing at a local university hockey arena. Or the Toronto Maple Leafs, who've not won a Cup since 1967, playing games at a local arena on the corner of Main and Broadway. The Coyotes were set up to fail from day one. We could blame the commissioner's office. I actually, want to actually praise Gary Bettman for at least saying, hey, this city still deserves to have a franchise. But you have to have the arena in place. It's as simple as that. But when you set up a franchise to fail from the get-go, I think the Coyotes made 4 straight playoff appearances when they came from Winnipeg in the 90s. But again, you don't get out of round 1. And the most recent time you got to you made the postseason was because you were pretty much grandfathered in because of COVID. Remember, folks, when the league restarted play during the COVID shutdown, 24 teams made the playoffs. And the Coyotes got in as one of the lowest seeds in the Western Conference. Yeah, they won their play-in series to get into the actual field of 16. They were knocked out with the East by Colorado. And sadly as well, fan support has not been there. I feel bad for Lindsey Fry, who I know very well, who is a broadcaster for the Coyotes. She's also a well-respected youth coach with the Arizona Coyotes' girls programs, the Arizona Cachinas. And I feel bad, though, like I usually say, I have sympathy for a fan base who loses their franchise. But I do think, though, Sally, that even that fan base knew that this team was set up to fail from game one in 96. Playing in a arena that was not built for hockey, going to Glendale, multiple years of losing, not making the postseason, having to draft Shane Doan, the best player in club history's son, to even get fans involved or like get fans on board. Again, this sadly has just been a mess. But again, iconic franchises, Isaiah, don't play in 5,000 seat college venues and have more than one trophy in the trophy case and at least get to the cup final. Now, again, we could hear something, folks, as soon as next Thursday from reports gathered, maybe over the offseason. There's still some hurdles, though, again. Board of Governors has to approve. There was also in the article, folks, that I did read last night that Alex Marullo would like to be first in line for an expansion franchise. But, folks, I do think, though, from the league perspective, I think the clock finally is running out here from the league front office. Again, as much as they have tried their hardest to make this work with this club in Arizona, I think now the fact, though, that the Coyotes have to win a public auction for about 70 or 90 acres of property in Scottsdale, the fact you have to win a public auction now to build your arena on, that right there, I think, is the last straw. That the NHL is like, you know what? We're out of here, basically. And I think, though, that with how the league has thrown so many life preservers and life rafts to Arizona, the 5,000 seat arena is no longer going to be sustainable. But now that the Coyotes have to win a public auction to win the property that they want to build their $2.1 billion project on, I think that's what is making the NHL nervous and irate, is that we have to keep playing the waiting game for Arizona. I just think at this rate, though, if you're the NHL, you just say, you know what, we're cutting our losses. We may come back to the area eventually, but we're tired of this nonsense. We're tired of waiting and being left on hold. So what do? You move the team to Salt Lake City. Now, James, I know that James has a concern here. Callan, how are we sure that the league would work in Utah? James, it's simple as this. Hockey is a wintertime sport. Salt Lake City is best known for winter sports tourism. They have a long history of having hockey in Salt Lake City, dating back to the WHL back in the 60s with the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, who played for a long time as a minor league franchise. They currently have the minor league affiliate for the Avalanche right now with the Utah Grizzlies, who have been very successful in their time in Utah. They draw well, too, at the Maverick Center up there in SLC. I think they're actually in Maverick, Utah, close by. But, James, I think that the league would work, though, because, as I have said, though, they have gone to Salt Lake to test the market already with the Kings playing Vegas in the Frozen Fury preseason game. Those games have been sold out or have been near capacity. Now, again, you would probably have to tweak some things, though, at Delta Center. Thank God it's Delta Center, by the way, not Vivint Arena anymore. But again, the league, though, does require that improvements are made to make it hockey specific. Again, you have to make sure that you can fit the rink totally in play, not like America West in 96. And also, James, like I said, though, as well, this also, I think, would give a closer geographical rival to the Avalanche. Imagine the Avalanche play the Utah Blizzard. That is a name that has already been thrown out by fans. James, I said earlier in the segment here that, again, Ryan Smith already had a survey put out about what the team should be named already. Props to him for doing that, by the way. But again, James, I think more along the lines of winter sport in hockey, Salt Lake City, big time winter sports town, Olympic game host in 2002. I know for a fact my boss with the goals, James, him and his family are big skiers. I think they were in Utah fairly recently. And he said, I would love to come up here and see the Ducks play the Blizzard, the Yeti, the Mountaineers, the Olympians, the Buzz, the Hive, the Swarm, whatever they're going to call the team. I view it more of that way, like more people who snowboard, who ski, who figure skate, who play pond hockey. That becomes a destination right away. It also would give revenue to the Jazz during when they're on the road. So that's why, James, I think that the NHL would succeed in Salt Lake City. And if I had my way, James, they would be called the Utah Buzz to keep the ZZ tradition going of team names in Salt Lake City. The Jazz, the Stars in the WNBA for about 5 years. The Salt Lake Bees, again, it works. Beehive State, Salt Lake City, Utah, Beehive State. So I would call them the Utah Buzz. Buzz, just like the Jazz, just like the Stars when they were in the WNBA for a long time, and keeping state tradition. You're the Beehive State for a reason, so you're called the Buzz. Christy Wilson also agrees that the Coyotes going to Arizona would make sense to her. Christy, it does make sense because, like I said, though, I think finally the NHL is at the point of like we're tired of the waiting game. Figure it out, or you're going to Salt Lake City. And again, though, I do, see why that they have tried their hardest to make it work, though. Now, again, I do, folks, again, I know I may have piled on a bit here on the Coyotes. I was mainly piling on Isaiah for that take, though, about the Coyotes being a rich franchise or iconic franchise. But again, 9 playoff trips, 1 division title, never reaching the Stanley Cup final. Iconic franchises, Isaiah, don't play in 5,000-seat Division I college hockey arenas. Hate to say it, bud, but Isaiah loses again. But I do, though, but for that fan base, though, Christy, I absolutely feel terrible. I think I feel worse for them than I do for maybe for Oakland. But I think that Oakland and the Coyotes are very intertwined. But I think that the Coyote situation is just a little bit, I think, worse for the fact of this franchise was doomed from day one, like I said earlier in the show. But also, you know why as well, Isaiah, if you're listening out there, why the Coyotes are not an iconic franchise? Franchises like the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs and the Bruins and the Red Wings and the Rangers and the Ducks and the Kings, they don't have to be owned by the NHL twice in franchise history. If the league is owning your franchise, that should tell you something right there. And again, if this does come to fruition, folks, once more, with the relocation, the NHL would become the owner of the Coyotes for the second time in the last 11 years. And a iconic franchise is never owned by the league front office there, Mr. Leong. I hate to say it. Now, do I think, though, that Arizona should be in line for an expansion franchise once, hopefully, all this arena mess is figured out? I would hope so. Because that fan base deserves it. And I think, though, the league is right, though, because of the fact that youth hockey in Arizona has exploded. For goodness sakes, folks, the best goal scorer right now, the leading goal scorer in the NHL, that kid Austin Matthews, he's from Arizona. Shane Doan's son, Josh, is playing for the Coyotes. Shane Doan is one of, I think, 3 players who has their number retired by the Coyotes, alongside Keith Kachuk, and Jeremy Roenick. In a way, Arizona and California hockey is very intertwined. It's about the boom of youth hockey participation in California and in Arizona. But again, the California franchises, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and San Jose, have been sadly vastly better than the Coyotes have. There's 3 Stanley Cups in the trophy case. There is 6 conference championships in the trophy case, a President's Trophy for the best overall record in the league, and multiple division championships. That's what an iconic franchise looks like, Isaiah. Not one who was set up to fail from day one in 96 when they went to Phoenix from Winnipeg. And they have been, like the Globetrotters, trying to find a stable arena to play in. And the NHL finally said Wednesday, we're tired of this waiting game. We're drafting up plans to move this team to Salt Lake City, Utah, and cutting our losses, sadly, with Arizona. But I feel bad, though, for those fans, though, who have been sticking by this franchise, who's been doomed since day one, and they still support the team. Again, it reminds me a little bit of the Chargers when they left for Los Angeles. Reminds me a bit, too, about what's going on with the A's. But also, there really has been a lot of pushback or blowback by the fan base of the Coyotes, like there has been with the Athletics. Yeah, there's been some town hall meetings, though, where fans have totally just ripped the city council to shreds, though, in Arizona. But nothing along the lines of what Oakland's doing right now with the Athletics at this rate. James also wrote in real quick that he says, Cal, you have convinced me of why Utah would work. I mean, James, don't feel bad about your take about, hey, are you sure it's going to work? Again, I love, though, people that want to ask those questions. Are we absolutely sure that this will work if this team moves to Utah? And I gave you the reasons why. And I think, James, that, I think you may have been on board, though. I think anyone out there, maybe minus Leung, knew, though, that this franchise in Arizona was probably going to be on their way out, whether it was to Salt Lake City, Atlanta, Quebec City, who knows? But at the end of the day, James, and viewers out there, I just think, though, that the hourglass finally ran out on the Coyotes because the league is just getting tired of playing this waiting game about what they're going to do with this arena. Again, an iconic franchise, Isaiah, does not have to win a public auction to buy the property that they want to build their new arena on. So, Isaiah, stick to the sports you know, buddy, and let those who know more about certain sports handle talking about those sports. Please and thank you. You'll make our audience like you a little bit better if you do. Just saying. With that, folks, another major domino has fallen in college athletics. Tara Vanderveer, the longtime head coach of Stanford and also at Idaho and Ohio State, announced her plans to retire after 45 years of coaching. A 3-time national champion and currently holds the record for career wins in college basketball. As right now, Kate Pay, a former player under Tara and coach for the past 17 seasons, is now in line to take over the Stanford program. Tara will still serve, though, in an advisory role for the school and the Cardinal Athletic Department. However, Tara's retirement, folks, comes, though, in wake of Stanford, Cal, and SMU joining the ACC next season, resulting in a much longer travel commute schedule for Stanford athletics. However, though, Tara did confirm, though, and did deny that the conference move influenced her decision to finally retire. It has, though, folks, led to a big name with her program in women's basketball. Cameron Brink is leaving for the WNBA, citing the long travel as her factor. She's right now projected to be the number 2 pick overall in this upcoming or next week's WNBA draft by the LA Sparks. Pardon me about that, folks. I apologize. Still recovering, as you can tell. Can I just declare victory already over every single person who has said that I was wrong and stupid and dumb and that I smoked weed or smoke weed in San Diego? Can I just formally declare victory about college athletics right now over all of you people out there? Even my co-host included, sadly. Can I kind of one-up you a little bit more after the fact that I came back from the depths of hell to win the March Madness group with UConn beating Purdue? Can I kind of do a little bit of this right here and right now again? I hate to be arrogant today, folks, with this topic. But have I not said from the get-go that college realignment was not going to work? Here is another prime example. Another big-name coach does not want to put up with this nonsense of college realignment. So Nick Saban, Tara Vanderveer, John Calipari. Now, Calipari moved to a new program, but still. Two of the biggest names in college athletics have retired because they don't want to put up with this new crap being forged by college athletics. And I damn well know a lot of you people out there thought I was stupid when I said that this was not going to work. You know why? And this is probably like my great like Dom Mysterio, heel promo here. Because you people only care about college football. Nobody out here except for Callan McClurg has worried about college basketball, college soccer, college volleyball, college baseball, college softball, because all of you folks out there only give a crap about college hand egg. I had a friend of mine, McKenna Bregelman, who is a pitcher for our softball team at USD, share on her Instagram story yesterday that suicide has become the number one leading cause of student-athlete deaths over the past 4 years. COVID being a factor, but also stuff like this. Bullet point 5 should be a Callan McClurg told you so moment. If you are still out here believing that college realignment is the best thing ever since sliced bread. Bullet point 5 and bullet point 8 should be a wake-up call to those you out there who think college realignment is going to work. Big name coach retires in wake of Stanford, her university, Cal, SMU going to the ACC, resulting in commuting to the East Coast. Cameron Brink, who will be the number 2 pick more than likely behind Caitlin Clark to Indiana, in her announcement said, I'm leaving because I do not want to travel 5 hours east to play games in college. We also, folks, had Missouri's head football coach earlier in the offseason, back in October or back in August maybe, or back in September, during the course of the college football season, even coming out and saying, did anyone out there talk to our other athletic programs who have to do more traveling than just the football team? Obviously not. So if you want to apologize to me and kiss my feet about me being right about this sort of thing going on in college athletics, please do. And I don't want to hear anyone ever again say that realignment is a good thing for college athletics. When you lose the winningest coach in college football history in Nick Saban, or right up there with him, now you lose the winningest coach in college basketball, regardless of its men's or women's hoops. That should be a alarming wake-up call to those of you on the, out there waving rally towels about how great realignment's going to be. Until you view it from the broader perspective of it not always being about college hand-egg and college football, maybe you'll realize that you were wrong. And I very much, folks, hate to kind of be pissed off about this and ticked off about this. But I am this way today because of the fact I do not work in nor care about college football, or as I call it, college hand-egg. The fact that there is still a playoff format that has not worked, the fact of all this movement going on here with every sport, it's not all fine and dandy, folks. What's it going to take? What's it going to take? I will sit here and wait for someone to give me an answer. Nick Saban, retired. Tara Vanderveer, retired. Because of the new age we're entering in college athletics. Cameron Brink, the second projected pick in next Monday's WNBA draft, is right alongside her head coach. I know I'll have to do it in the pros, but I don't want to do it in college. Who was right? Regardless, folks, Tara Vanderveer, incredible career. 45 years at the helm of 3 different programs, 3-time national champion. Already in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It is just a crying shame, though, that the Pac-12 is no longer around and athletic departments only view things from the football perspective and don't factor in Tara's basketball team when they make these pathetic and stupid moves to new conferences. So I will gladly accept anyone's Venmo wagers, Cash App wagers, public apologies. I'll gladly take all that off your hands for being right about college realignment, ruining college athletics. I hate to kind of be an a-hole on this topic, but I'm standing my ground, planting my flag in the ground, and declaring victory. I'm declaring victory today over people like Isaiah Leung, who have long believed that this is so great for college athletics. I will proudly fly the W flag today of being right about college athletics again. But again, folks, Tara Vanderveer, winningest coach in college basketball, again, men's or women's, regardless, announcing her retirement after 45 years spent coaching at Idaho, Ohio State, and at Stanford University, 3-time national champion, and also is the all-time record holder for career wins with 1,216. But again, Tara citing in a way the heels right now coming up here of Cal, Stanford, and SMU moving to the ACC, which would make it harder and longer of travel for the Bears. And the Cardinal, Cameron Brink as well, the star player on her team this past season, again, is also calling it quits, moving on to the WNBA draft, where, again, she's slated to go number 2 to Los Angeles in the draft next Monday. But again, if you're out here, folks, still thinking that realignment's going to work, hate to tell you, but Callan Mack was right. Saban is gone. Tara Vanderveer is gone. Cameron Brink, big name in women's college basketball, is gone for the WNBA. And I hate to really say this, but unless you are inside college athletics like I am, you don't fully know, folks, what's going on behind closed doors. I merely just think, though, about the fact that the toll this is all going to take on these athletes, if they're not football players, is atrocious. Multiple trips to the East Coast, the Midwest. The amount of time spent doing classwork and homework away from the confines of a lecture hall or from their dorm, which, again, has led to the amount of rise of athlete suicides. Katie Meyer was a prime example, sadly, folks, of the star goalkeeper at Stanford. You know, she was best known for tugging on the jersey and, you know, shutting up people when they beat UNC to win a national title. But Katie Meyer, sadly, folks, passed away and I believe committed suicide a year or so after they won the national title, because the student-athlete mindset right now is just not in a good place. Because you're trying to balance school, practices, games, seeing friends, trying to be a human being, for God's sakes. And now with all this realignment, all that now is out the window. Where sadly, I think that suicide rate will keep going up. And I hate to say that, but we're entering dangerous territory. And I view it again, though, for the fact, though, that two of the biggest names in coaching that I have name dropped on this damn podcast, because of where we're at right now in college athletics, you know, again, I look like I have won already. Again, did Nick Saban, Gino Auriemma, Tara Vanderveer, Patty Gasco, Kim Mulkey, any other big-name coach who's been at their university for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, again, do they want to put up with the nonsense of college realignment and where college athletics is at right now? Right now, 2 dominoes have fallen, and a third has gone to a new university. So again, I don't care. I am declaring a victory over everybody out there who has long said, woo, realignment's going to work out so great for college athletics. It's going to work out for college football, maybe. But until you start worrying about college soccer, college volleyball, college hoops, college baseball, college softball, track and field, the other sports that do exist away from just you worrying about football, maybe you'll understand better. Maybe you'll understand a bit better. But until then, Venmo's open, Cash App's open, DMs are open. I will take everyone's apology. That said, Callan was right. I was wrong. I admit it. Just like I sat in this damn chair and admitted I was wrong about Michigan football getting into the CFP. And I sat here for 30 minutes and said I was wrong about Michigan. And I said that they should have been DQ'd and taken out of the CFP because that head coach had multiple strikes on him for violating rules of the law in college football. So sadly, it's your turn now to apologize to the head of the table when it comes to college athletics. In the meantime, folks, one final topic here. Callan McClurg's effect, despite losing the national title, is right now evident in the tournament, garnering the 3 highest ratings in women's college basketball and even the upcoming WNBA draft in the upcoming season. The Indiana Fever, who are sure right now to draft Clark #1 overall, will have all but 4 of their games on national television. She is set to be the #1 overall pick after her remarkable decorated career at college or in college at Iowa, where she surpassed Mississippi Marvich's scoring record of that lasted for 54 years. Furthermore, Clark, alongside last year's #1 pick, Aaliyah Boston, will also generate more excitement. I was right on this one, too. I mainly, though, folks, said this, though, about when, if and when Clark goes to Indiana. I was in this mindset of like, wow, if this happens, holy smokes, this is going to be great. Because I was viewing it, though, folks, about Clark going to Indiana. That is still Big Ten country. This could not work out any better for women's basketball. Along with the fact, though, folks, of the 3 games that were played, Iowa, LSU delivered. Iowa, UConn, I know there was some tomfoolery and controversy with the illegal screen on Aaliyah Edwards, and, of course, the title game. We had the Great Eclipse, folks, happen. The Great Eclipse with the sun and the moon. How about the fact that the women's title game was more watched than UConn Purdue on the men's side? And for anybody doubting that Clark's effect is not going to carry over to the pros is wrong. All those NILs, folks, that she signed with Iowa, with Gatorade and with State Farm, those carry to her pro career. So Callan Clark is not going anywhere anytime soon, whether you like it or not. And also, I think exposing the national television audience to the Fever will help. Now, again, this has been a team, though, folks, who sadly has been in a major rut since the great Tamika Catchings retired, I believe, in 2015. And they have been, sadly, at the bottom of the Eastern Conference in the league standings for quite a while, sadly. And they've been garnering great talent like Victoria Vivians and Aaliyah Boston and some other great #1 picks. But this might be where the Fever turn the corner. Now, it'll probably take a year or two for them to get acquainted, though, and stuff like that. As the GOAT, Diana Taurasi said, though, that, yeah, it's great in college, though, but now you're going to be playing against older, more experienced women, not 18-year-old kids in college. But Monday, folks, might be the single biggest day in WNBA history. I do think, though, that it's going to be in the top 5. I think about, though, when Shamiqua Holsclaw was drafted, when Catch got drafted, Diana got drafted, Sue got drafted, Candace Parker got drafted, of what those players did for those franchises. Sue Bird became the mayor of Seattle basketball when the Sonics left. Diana Taurasi turned around a Phoenix team who, they were competitive. They had Michelle Timms and Jennifer Grandma Gillum back in the day. Candace Parker took over for Lisa Leslie as the face of the LA organization and got that first ring in 2016 after not getting there from her rookie year in 2008. But Callan Clark, though's effect now going to the WNBA, I really think is going to be like the best thing since Deladon, Griner, and Diggins got drafted in 2013. I mainly think it, though, folks, because of the fact, like I said, though, here a while back, because Callan is staying in Big Ten country. Folks, think about those images we saw, though, this past basketball season. Think about all the times that we heard stories of Iowa going on the road somewhere and people are lining up at 5 o'clock in the morning like it's a freaking concert just to watch Callan Clark play. Now think, though, folks, too, that Indiana has basically sold out every road game this season. It's gotten to the point, folks, that the defending back-to-back champion Aces in Las Vegas, they have moved their July 2nd game from Michelob Ultra Arena at Mandalay Bay to T-Mobile Arena where the Knights play. They may get 20,000 people for that game because of Callan McClurg. Unbelievable. And the fact that only four of their games are not on national television, and Callan still is not, and we still have 4 days until the draft even happens. That, folks, should tell you something. So all those years of all of you saying nobody watches women's sports, get back in the kitchen. Do me a favor and shut up and worry about sports that you actually care about. Please. Save yourself the embarrassment. Please and thank you. Thank you next. Because they're not going away. This right here should prove to you that it's not going away. A team in the Indiana Fever who had, I believe, back-to-back number one overall picks, having single-digit win seasons recently, will now add the best thing going for women's college basketball in 4 days. Even before she's drafted, the other 11 teams in the league have already sold out their Indiana games when they come to town. And think about what it's going to do, though, for home games. Like I said, maybe those Big Ten fans from Lansing or Ann Arbor who couldn't see Callan play against the Spartans or the Wolverines, they now will travel into Indianapolis to watch her play because they missed out when she was in college. This script cannot be written, folks, any better. You are going to keep Callan McClurg in Big Ten country, where those fans from Madison, Lansing, Ann Arbor, from Minnesota, Indiana, they will travel the games. Even better, think about when she goes to Chicago. People from Des Moines will probably come across state lines. This could not be any better set up. And when that happens, folks, on Monday, that should tell all those trolls, all those morons out there who always love to, put down women's sports and women's basketball. Stay in the basement and get off the keyboard. Because Monday is going to be probably the single greatest day in women's basketball and women's sports history, in my opinion. Because from that broader picture again, Callan McClurg to the Indiana Fever, staying in Big Ten country, that means that people who could not get in to watch her play in college at Iowa can now get in when they go and play to play Chicago or any team out there. This ripple effect is going to be the best thing for this league and this sport and this team in general. Merch sales, season ticket sales, road fans. Again, like I said, every road game that the Fever have is basically sold out. The defending champions had to move their game from their current venue to T-Mobile Arena in Vegas because of the Callan McClurg effect. And as someone who has been going to bat for women's basketball and women's sports since he was in 8th grade, I love to see this happen. So yeah, make fun of me for being a big women's sports and women's basketball fan, folks. But I hope on Monday, when this happens, when Clark goes to Indiana number 1 overall, that those of you out there who hate women's sports for some ungodly reason, stay in your lane and just shut up, please. Just save yourself the embarrassment of that. And again, I mainly, though, hate seeing when all that does happen. It really burns at me that it's a dad who says that, yet their daughter is in their picture, or it's their niece, or it's their wife. So you mean to tell me, though, that you don't want to support your spouse or support your spouse's ambitions or support your daughter's ambitions to become a professional athlete, maybe? Doesn't fly. I'm sorry. Ryan Pond apologized. Ryan, you had nothing to apologize for. I never once heard you say anything about realignment at all. So don't feel bad, buddy. Now, if you're apologizing because I'm sick, then absolutely, thank you for that. Again, it's been very rough over the past 11 days. 11 days, as you can tell, it's been rough. Like I said, though, it's been allergy related, sadly, Ryan. And those of you out there again who may be wondering, the weather change out here in SoCal has been very rough. So I've been very, congested, very, heavy, like heavy chest cavity because of, coughing up everything and stuff like that. But I've been very much on the mend, though. So kind of have like a bit of like that sinus pressure headache, Ryan. Like you get like that pressure headache kind of. And it's because the weather out here in SoCal, folks, has been so bad. And yes, Ryan, the rain has been worse. And it's supposed to rain again this weekend. Like, I personally just can't catch a break. But thankfully, I got one long weekend of work, and then I got some time off to kind of chill and kind of get back to full strength. With that, folks, glad to be here, though. Thanks, by the way, though, folks, for bearing with me today with how I've been feeling in my health right now. Means a lot to, again, be back on here. Again, we'll try our best to be back with you folks next week. But again, a major thank you to Christy and James and Ryan for joining us here today. But with that, folks, we'll see you back here again, hopefully next week. We'll keep you posted again, but it's been very, just again, rough right now with how I've been feeling. My work schedule, though, has been kind of right now been getting depleted because, again, we're at the end of the road right now with all the sports at this rate. But again, folks, bear with me again as I kind of get myself back to full strength. We will, though, folks, see you again later tonight for Kicking It. I will not be here because I'm going out to do my taxes. Yeah. But we will, though, folks, hopefully see you again next week for more coverage of the sports media perspective and sports media industry, I should say, here on Press Row, folks. Till next time, have a great day, and please don't be like me. Stay healthy, please. We'll see you next time, folks. Till next time, namaste. Bye-bye.